There was a time I genuinely thought something was seriously wrong with me. Not in a dramatic way, just a persistent feeling that I didn't seem to cope with life the way other people did. Today I just want to talk about something that I know that a lot of people do experience sometimes or suffer from this all their life. And basically it's anxiety. I suffer with anxiety. My anxiety started to show up pretty early in life, actually. I think the first time I felt anxiety was when I was in my late teens. I was staying at a girlfriend's place and it was far away from home, and I was sleeping over her house, and I got up in the middle of the night and I just had this feeling like I couldn't breathe, and I just don't know why. And I told my girlfriend, and she didn't really seem to care. She was quite rude, actually. She just said, just don't be stupid. Because I explained to her, look, I'm just freaking out a bit. I just feel like I just can't breathe. The lights were off. It was just really weird. So that was my first experience with anxiety. And back then, I really didn't know that there was a word for it. Moving forward, in my early 30s, mid-30s, my father passed away from cancer. And about 6 months later, I'm driving my car. I don't know where it was. I was going over a bridge. And I suddenly just felt like I was not in control of the car. Like my hands were gripping onto the steering wheel in my car. And it just felt like the car was just going to go off the road, and it just freaked me freaking out. It scared me that much that the next time I was going for a drive in my car, it would happen. And then it would happen all the time nearly. And then it got to the point where I just refused to drive my car. And this went on for years. Yes, years. There'd be other things that were happening. Really wacky things were happening. Like, I'd go into the lifts, instead of walking up all these stairs. And then I would feel like I was trapped. And I just felt like very claustrophobic, I suppose. And then that turned into another thing. Another thing popped up where one day my husband was driving the car and we're going for a bit of a long drive, and I just felt like I was just going to pass out. Yeah. So I started to get some really wacky symptoms. I later realised that I was just suffering from intense, severe, probably generalised anxiety. So no, it didn't happen all at once. No, it was gradual. At first, I'd just feel a little bit uncomfortable in certain situations, but then every time I would put myself in those sort of situations, the symptoms of my anxiety just got so bad to the point where I just started to avoid a lot of those situations. It got so bad that I would literally hesitate before going into certain places. I'd literally be scanning exits, without even thinking about it. I'd literally be scanning for an exit door at the shops, thinking, well, if I need to get out, I can go out that door, It just started getting crazy. I'd avoid going up the lifts. I'd take the stairs, even if it meant there was even if there was so many stairs to climb. I would rather have just taken the stairs. And the strange thing about all this wacky stuff that was going on is most of the time I looked completely fine on the outside. And that's one of the confusing parts of anxiety, right? It doesn't always match what people can see. Like on the outside, I think I look kind of normal. Most of the times I've had an anxiety attack, it's when I have been already under stress. For me, one of the hardest parts was driving. Because driving isn't just about getting from A to B. It's about feeling like you can handle whatever's happening along the way. And it took me years to figure that out, because I used to say to myself, why is it that I get this anxiety a lot in the car when the car's moving? you know? And it doesn't matter if I'm driving it or if someone else is driving it. And look, I just want to interrupt here. I'm better at it now. Like, I can drive my car now and I can be a passenger now. But when shit was going bad, it was bad, you know. And when anxiety shows up, that sense of control can feel fragile. And I think that's why I was getting this anxiety attack when I was in the car. Because maybe my brain was saying, no, you can't handle anything anymore. Your nervous system is shot. And look, some days were better than others. Not every day was like that, but it was pretty bad. But you know, when it was happening, I didn't understand all this at first. And it was really sucky. I felt embarrassed about this. At the end of the day, it's ridiculous. Like, I'm thinking, how can a space be safe and still feel unsafe at the same time? I even thought, am I losing my mind? And it wasn't just that. There was other situations too. Crowded places, okay? Shopping centres were the worst, especially if it was Boxing Day or something like that, where there's half of the town there, you know. I would feel like I was trapped. In fact, I do remember once, this is when my daughter was really young, and she really wanted to go there for Boxing Day, and we did. But it was like sardines. It was that packed. And I just had an attack right there in the shops. And I said to my husband, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to get out and just leave you with our daughter for a little bit. I've just got to get out. I'm having one of those moments again. And it really upset my daughter, you know, because she wanted her mum to be there, you know. And I felt broken. And slowly, unfortunately, without meaning to, I started to make my life a lot smaller. My world did shrink a bit. I avoided so much. I avoided doing a lot of things that triggered those horrible feelings. And it's not because I wanted to limit my life. It was like it was controlling my life. My body thought it was trying to protect me when it really didn't need to anymore. For a long time, I kept asking, what have I done to deserve this? I thought I was broken. But then one day I just realised, I said, what if I'm not broken? What if I'm just overwhelmed? And I was overwhelmed. By my mid-30s, I had been through so much, so many things. And I think my nervous system just had had enough. And my body, my mind knew I had had enough. And it was just thought it was just protecting me. But it wasn't protecting me. It was like I needed to tell my mind or my brain, I don't need you anymore. I'm all good. I don't want to pretend this is something I've completely figured out, because I haven't, unfortunately. And I'll be honest, I still have days where anxiety shows up. So if you're watching this and you recognize yourself in this, you're not alone. I'm sure there are other people in the world who are kind of have similar experiences as me with their anxiety or their panic attacks, be it claustrophobia or agoraphobia. Don't beat yourself up for having these things. I have them, and I'm 51. And like I said, I started to have my first panic attack or anxiety, whatever, when I was a teenager. I believe a lot of people do probably have a lot of these sorts of episodes, but maybe they're just too embarrassed to admit it. But I'm here admitting what I feel. And I hope that you've gained something out of it. I hope that this video, I hope that my story is helped you today. I hope you've got something out of this video. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.